Okay, so manifestation, right? It's like everywhere you turn these days and you're ready to like really explore this, right?
Absolutely.
We're not just talking about like putting a vision board up. We're talking about how to actually use this stuff. And something I thought was so fascinating from what you shared with me is how these like big emotions, things like gratitude and awe,
Yeah.
how those things might actually be tools for manifestation. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah. And what's so interesting about that is this idea that, people always say, think positive, right? But this is really about specific emotions and harnessing those. And the thing that I think is so interesting is it's not about suppressing your other
Oh,
emotions.
that's good because I was going to ask you about that.
Because I think sometimes people hear, manifestation, think positive, and they think, oh, does that mean I can't be sad? I can't be angry?
Right, right.
And that's not what this is about at all.
Like toxic positivity, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, all of those emotions are valid. And I think, we experience them for a reason. So it's not about suppressing any of those. It's more about understanding that each emotion has an energy to it, right?
Right.
And how can we understand that energy and then maybe almost add it to our toolkit, so to speak, of things that can help us experience reality in a different way, maybe even shape our reality in a way that's more in alignment with what we want.
Okay, so it's less about like forcing a smile when you're feeling down and more about like understanding, wait, this emotion has this energy behind it
Mhm.
and how can I use that?
Yeah.
But what does that even look like? I mean, are we talking about like attracting things based on our feelings? Because that just sounds kind of, I don't know.
It sounds very woo-woo, right?
Yeah.
It sounds kind of out there, but what's fascinating is that, the research that you sent, a lot of it pointed to this idea that emotions actually have a vibrational frequency.
Okay.
And so just like a radio, you tune a radio to a certain frequency, you pick up a certain station. What if we're tuning ourselves, right,
Hmm.
to a certain emotional frequency? And that's what attracts, whether it's experiences, opportunities, even material things. It all starts with understanding the power of each one of those emotions.
Okay. Vibrational frequency. Okay, kind of like that. So if our emotions are like sending out these vibes, where do we even begin? Like how do we start tuning ourselves to the right station to manifest what we want?
Well, the sources you shared, they really seem to focus on gratitude and awe as being like super powerful starting points.
Yeah, those came up a lot, didn't they?
They did, and for good reason. It seems like both of those emotions are really good at helping us shift our perspective, which a lot of times that's where manifestation actually begins,
Oh, totally. Because if you're like coming from a place of negativity or I don't have enough, how can you possibly expect to manifest anything good?
Exactly. And that's where gratitude comes in. It helps us move away from that mindset of scarcity, that feeling of I don't have enough. And it shifts us to a place of abundance, which is really just recognizing all the good stuff that's already around us.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like the more you appreciate what you have, the more you're in that like vibration of abundance.
Exactly. And you know what? One of the sources actually used a really cool analogy to explain this, and I think it really clicked for me. They were talking about how gratitude is like tuning a radio dial.
Oh, like finding the right frequency.
Yes, exactly. When we're focused on feeling grateful, we're essentially tuning our energy to the frequency of abundance so we can start attracting more of those good vibes into our lives.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
So it's like we're sending out a signal, and the clearer that signal of gratitude is,
Mm.
the better the reception we're going to get when it comes to manifesting good stuff.
Precisely. And then there's awe. Awe is amazing because it kind of explodes our perception of what's possible. You know how sometimes you get so caught up in your own little world, your own problems?
Oh, all the time.
Right. But awe, it takes us out of that and reminds us that we're a part of something so much bigger than ourselves. And that can be really powerful.
Like if you think about like standing on top of a mountain.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, or like looking up at a night sky that's just filled with stars.
Yeah. Suddenly your problems seem kind of small.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in that moment of awe, we open ourselves to the idea that like anything is possible. Like maybe, just maybe, our wildest dreams aren't so far-fetched after all.
I love that. Okay, so we've got gratitude helping us focus on the abundance that's already here and awe kind of blowing the lid off what we believe is possible. But what about joy and wonder? Where do those fit in?
Oh, those are good ones. Joy, I think, is super interesting because it's often seen as a really high vibration emotion. Like when you're feeling joyful, you just radiate a different energy.
Totally. You can just feel it, right?
Exactly. And the sources you shared, they suggested that that joyful energy might actually attract more positivity and abundance into our lives.
Interesting. So it's not just about feeling good in the moment. It's like that joy has a ripple effect.
Yeah, I think so. It's like it sends out these positive vibes that can actually influence the experiences we have.
I like that. Okay, so then what about wonder? I feel like that's something we're always trying to recapture, right? That childlike sense of awe and curiosity.
Absolutely. And it's so important because wonder helps us stay open to new possibilities. It stops us from getting stuck in those limiting beliefs that we all have. When we approach life with wonder, we're basically telling the universe, surprise me.
You show me what you've got, I'm ready.
Exactly. And that openness, that willingness to be amazed, I think that's incredibly powerful when we're talking about manifesting our desires.
So we talked about gratitude, awe, joy, wonder. Like those are some pretty powerful emotions, right? But how do we actually use them? It's one thing to talk about it, but like how do I actually bring that into my everyday life?
Yeah, it's funny because I think a lot of times we hear about these big ideas and it's like, okay, that's great, but what do I do on a Tuesday?
Right, exactly.
But the articles you shared, they actually had some really practical suggestions. Like with gratitude, one of the things that came up a lot was this idea of gratitude journaling.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. So you just like write down what you're grateful for.
Yeah. It can be as simple as that, just taking a few minutes every day to really think about the things you're grateful for, whether they're big or small. Even if you're having kind of a rough day, there's always something.
Okay. And do you think it really works? Like can something that simple actually shift your mindset?
I think it can. It's like training your brain to focus on the positive. Instead of only seeing the negative, you start to notice and appreciate all the good, even when things are tough.
It's like where attention goes, energy flows, right? Have you heard that one?
All the time. And it's so true. And then when it comes to cultivating awe, the articles talked about being more intentional about seeking out experiences that evoke that sense of wonder.
Okay, so like what going on a hike?
Yeah, spending time in nature is huge. Or even going to a museum, looking at the stars, anything that makes you go, whoa.
Yeah, like
Whoa.
you're just reminded of how big and amazing the world is.
Exactly. And suddenly your problems don't feel quite so big anymore. And then there's joy and wonder, which, I think sometimes as adults we forget how to tap into those.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
We lose that like playfulness, that curiosity.
Yes. And it's a shame because those are such important emotions. So it's about reconnecting with your inner child, finding joy in the simple things, trying new things, not being afraid to look silly.
So embracing our inner child. I love it.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is one of the sources actually made this connection between joy and creativity, which I thought was fascinating. They were saying that when we're feeling joyful, our minds are more open and we're more likely to come up with new ideas, creative solutions to problems.
And that's really interesting. So if you're feeling stuck, tapping into that joyful energy might actually help you get unstuck.
Exactly. It's about approaching challenges from a place of possibility and playfulness. Remember, wonder is all about that curiosity, that openness to new experiences.
It's like we're saying, universe, surprise me. I'm open to it all. Wow, this has been such an incredible conversation. It's amazing how much power we have to shape our reality just by understanding and working with our emotions. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling so inspired to bring more gratitude, more awe, more joy, more wonder into my life. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Until next time, happy manifesting.